that a university professor and his family have had to flee the country. This week, Rutgers University historian Mark Bray fled to Spain after he says his family received a torrent of death threats after President Trump characterized the left-wing anti-fascist movement as a domestic terrorist organization. And the Rutgers chapter of right-wing student organization Turning Point USA launched a petition for his removal. Now, to be clear, Bray says he is not a part of Antifa and that his association is solely as an academic who's studied it. And Antifa is not, by the way, an actual organization with founders or leadership. It's a loose, decentralized term for a movement, but it's increasingly being used by the right as a label for a wide range of left-leaning causes, nonprofits, and protesters. Joining us now is Rutgers history professor Mark Bray. He's also the author of Antifa, the Anti-Fascist Handbook. Professor Bray, thank you for making time for us. First, how are you and your family? You just moved to Spain. Walk us through what led you to move and to get to this point.
Right. Well, as you said, following Trump's executive order declaring Antifa a terrorist organization, which you gave me a great lead up in terms of how that is completely ridiculous, I received a wave of death threats. Pushed on by a number of right-wing provocateurs online, pushed on by Turning Point USA at my campus, pushed on by Fox News. It led to the point where my address was posted on X, and I felt unsafe in my home and increasingly unsafe in the country. When I tried to leave the country on Wednesday, my reservation was mysteriously canceled at the last second. I don't know exactly what happened with that, but it was awfully fishy. And then I was stopped, searched, and interrogated by federal agents as I made my way out of the country on Thursday, despite facing no charges for any crimes whatsoever. As you said, I'm an investigator. I'm a dad. I'm just trying to live my life. I'm not even writing about anti-fascism anymore. This is about a book I wrote 8 years ago. So it really shows, I think, the kind of authoritarian creep going on with the Trump administration.
Given your expertise, Professor, can you tell us what Antifa is, what it's not? I mean, where did it originate from? Why has this become the obsession of the right? And honestly, in a very kind of simple way, why is it bad to be anti-fascist? Why is that now being used as a label? In some ways, don't we all want to be opposed to fascism?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Fascism is bad. Being anti-fascist is good. As far as your specific question, Antifa is originally an abbreviation from Germany that goes back to the early 20th century opposition to Hitler. Antifa is a loose term for anti-fascist groups that bring together different kinds of leftists and radicals and anti-fascists in coalition to oppose the far right through a variety of different tactics. We saw it, of course, in the U.S. most famously with Charlottesville. But in a sense, as you point out, this really has nothing to do with Antifa. They haven't been in the news for 5 years, since, of course, Trump tried to blame the Black Lives Matter protests of 2020 and all of the kind of social upheaval we saw then on Antifa. It's about creating a boogeyman term to demonize not only self-described leftists, but liberals, protesters, anyone who the Trump administration deems as an enemy. The authoritarian fascist playbook in history is pretty clear that you can't simply demonize people without creating this loose framework for incriminating anyone that you want to. And that's why, you know, it's no surprise that we've seen Republican politicians calling the upcoming No King's Day protest a kind of gathering of what they refer to as the pro-Hamas crowd in an effort to demonize Palestine solidarity protesters, Antifa, Marxists. It's a catch-all and really has nothing to do with anti-fascism so much as demonizing protests and equating with terrorism.
So, Professor, one of the phrases that the far-right activists who have really honed in on you, it's in the introduction to your book, and you say a call to arms, and they use that as saying, like, oh, this is rhetoric that is inciting violence. Now, frankly, it's a figure of speech. I think that we've gotten way snowflakey in policing what, you know, phrases that are commonly used and manipulating it for our own partisan political purposes. But if you went back and rewrote your introduction, would you still use that phrase?
Yeah, it means that we need to organize against fascism. Right. And so my book is a history book. I come at it as a scholar. I interviewed more than 60 anti-fascists from 17 different countries. I have a PhD. I've been working on the history of the left for a long time. But I also really don't like fascism. And I would really like people to organize against fascism. So, that criticism just sounds like people that haven't read a lot of literature, to be honest. If it wasn't that, they would have honed in on something else. This is not a good faith engagement. This is an effort to take words, take ideas, twist them entirely out of context. I mean, they've compared Antifa to ISIS, for crying out loud. This is not a fair conversation. We need to recognize the rhetorical games being played here and the end purpose of really making protest seem like terrorism, which is, of course, ridiculous. Our country is a history rich with protest of all sorts, and that's what we should be celebrating, not demonizing.
Well, you're in a good country, Spain, to do some research on the Spanish Civil War and another anti-fascist movement. So, Professor Mark Bray, thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you.